Hello. We are a few minutes early for the webinar. Um, just hang out a few minutes and we'll go ahead and get started closer to 5 o'clock. As we go to drop them in the chat box or hold them towards the end. But I am going to go ahead and screen share now to bear with me, people. One second. Almost there. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and screen share to kind of walk you all through the application and what you need to know. The cool thing about the application is this Dare to Dream application, though it's a little lengthy, it really walks you through everything you need to know about Dare to Dream. It gives you all of the deadlines and tells you what role each person should play on the team. Hopefully you all have seen this application already. If you haven't, we can definitely, it's also available on our website, and we can definitely send it out and follow up after this webinar. The first thing that this application does is briefly tell you about Dare to Dream. It lists the age ranges that this grant is available for, and it also lists the grant amount. It tells you a little bit about Youth Move National, how to get started. I'm not going to go through the entire application line by line, but there are portions of the application that I would like to pull out because I feel like it's important for you all to know today on the webinar. One of those, go ahead. Okay. One of those pieces that I would like to pull out is around criteria. So one thing that you would need to know when applying for Dare to Dream grant is that projects must be youth driven, meaning we want young people to complete the applications. And it's a possibility that if it does not seem like young people have completed the applications, that it will not be funded. So we definitely want to make sure that young people are completing the application, young people are have a hand in when it comes to the funding of the projects and the budgeting of the projects, and young people are implementing and running the projects. We want to make sure that projects are relevant to youth and young adult mental health in America. They are innovative, they have fresh new ideas, right? We want to see the things that are new and really would support young people when it comes to mental health. We want to make sure projects demonstrate reach. So we've already discussed this, but how many people will your project reach? How would this project change the knowledge, attitudes, or belief of actual behaviors of participants? And those who apply for the Dare to Dream grant would need the ability to be able to manage and manage the planning and implementation of the project. So that may mean having planning meetings with different team members to make sure that the project is on track, maybe creating a timeline, definitely creating a timeline, and making sure that all of the goals and objectives of the projects are being met. So one thing to think about when it comes to the ability to manage is how much time will the project take, who's doing what, and what are the best steps to get there. Another thing you would need, I forget I'm screen sharing people, so sorry about that. But another thing you would need is to have a committed supportive adult. The supportive adult is asked to attend at least 2 of the coaching calls for planning and like check-ins and evaluation. There are 4 webinars. The webinars are presented throughout the life cycle of the project, which kind of gives you an initial overview of the project, track and reporting requirements. We do like a mid, progress check-in, and then a final webinar, which is our celebration of your success. Each grantee must be committed to completing the project evaluation and reporting, which is super easy. And with one of our webinars, we kind of walk you through evaluations and reporting. And we're always here to support you individually with technical assistance should you have any questions. All projects are required to be completed by June 30th, which I've already discussed, as well as evaluations are due July 31st. And any time during that process, we could definitely check in and help you all with completing your documentation and answering any questions you may have. Applicants, we really want applicants to agree to having their project reports and pictures shared, mainly for that helps us make sure that we are able to kind of secure Dare to Dream funding for next year, really sharing the success of your projects, letting people know all of the great work you've done in your communities and why Dare to Dream funding is so important. So there's that. Our application also talks about application guidelines for this form. It walks you through a few steps there. So some things to ask yourself. Am I able to committing the attendant required webinars and coaching calls? Does my project meet the criteria to be eligible for this opportunity? Those types of things. And there is the applicant section. This section really breaks down all of the information that you need to know right when you're applying for the Dare to Dream grant. So a cover sheet, your project idea, information about your project and goals. In this application, there will be some action planning as well as some creating of a timeline and a budget for your project. There's information on evaluation, what that looks like, and the things that you may need to monitor throughout the scope of your project to make sure that you have everything you need for evaluation, and creating and completing all of the reports and the evaluations. There's actually one report and one evaluation. It's not a lie. There is a supportive adult section that literally lists out everything that the supportive adult would need to know. And there's actually
Jasmine, you frozen on us, I think. Well, I think that we've lost Jasmine for just a moment. Let's see if we can get her back. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'll go ahead and share my screen again. Okay, so our application can be found on the website at youthmovnational.org. We have the link right here. It's Dare to Dream America. And you can go there, you can take a look at it. We also are happy to answer questions. Please just make sure that your application is youth driven. Also, just to note, those are due on November 1st. So please let us know if you need any help filling those out. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. So just to talk a little bit about some of the money stuff. So we have 3 grants available at $3,000 a piece. We also have 5 $1,000 grants. So like Jasmine mentioned earlier, the $3,000 grants are a little bit more competitive. then the $1,000 grants, we have a few more of those. Also,
Hi.
oh, hey Jasmine, sorry we lost you there for a minute.
Sorry. I think after 5 o'clock, my internet just quit. Sorry about that, team.
No problem. So once you receive your grant, before you receive, once we decide on who is awarded the grants, you'll be sent a memorandum of agreement or an MOA. We'll ask that this is signed by your organization's executive director. So the way that the money distribution works is that we will distribute 80% of your total award mid-December. So shortly after we announce the winners of the awards, and then you'll receive the remaining 20% in April after you've participated in the coaching calls and the webinars. So we want to go over a few of our expectations about, so let's say you do get the grant. Awesome, congratulations. So this is what's going to be expected of you as far as completing your Dare to Dream project goes. So you must participate in 2 coaching calls with the Youth Move National staff. That will be either myself or Jasmine. We'll just divide them up randomly. Your first coaching call, we would like to get done as soon as possible, just to get the ball rolling, make sure people have their strategic plans in place, their budgeting, things like that. Throughout the award period, we will have 4 webinars. Those will be hosted by Jasmine and myself. Sometimes our friend Alice will join. She's the one who'll be answering any money questions you have. She's a gem. These webinars will focus on tracking and reporting requirements. We'll do a mid-process check-in, and then a final webinar celebrating your success. So we'll be able to answer a lot of questions about, we're basically walking you through what it's like to have a grant process and sort of the things that we're requiring and making sure that everybody is where they need to be. As Jasmine mentioned earlier, by participating, you agree to have your project report and pictures, etc., shared by the Youth Move National social media platforms. We also have our final report and accounting summary that's due July 31st. These reports are really not that big of a deal. They're basically just asking about the logistics of your project, how many people were there, what was the experience of the people, and then your accounting summary is pretty simple. And we also have webinars to look at those things. So you're not just going to be going into a blind. We definitely help you every step of the way. And then we also, in addition to your final report, we'll do individual participant evaluations. And this is basically just Youth Move National asking you all, what was your experience like as somebody who received a grant in the Dare to Dream America program. And that's really for us so that we can make sure that we're always improving our process and see what your experience was like to make sure that we're always continuing to improve the quality of our grant project. And then a really big ask that we have of you all, it may sound really simple, but we need everyone to be responsive to emails from Youth Move National. Sometimes people have some issues responding to our emails, and then we don't know, is this project happening? So it's just it would be really great if everybody could just make sure you stay in contact with us whenever we send out emails. And we'll also be sending out reminders for the webinars and things like that. We're pretty communicative. Okay, so like I mentioned, we will, there's a little bit more about the evaluation and reporting process in the application, as Jasmine showed us some of that. One thing we're going to be asking is in the application is how will you be evaluating your project? Making sure that we find ways to measure, did it promote mental health amongst your peers, or did it reduce stigma in your community, and how many people were reached by your project? So there's lots of different types of evaluations. Some of these may be familiar to you. There's also some more technological ones that are being developed. So there's basic surveys, feedback forms. There's also survey apps like Poll Everywhere. You can also consider things like follow-up emails. Youth Move will provide final reporting in your accounting format. So, so you'll have a chance to look at those things while you're creating your own evaluation process, which I think is really helpful because that way you'll have an idea of sort of what we're looking for when you're creating your own evaluations. Okay, so next steps. I know that was like a whole bunch of information. So we're going to go over some next steps and then we're going to talk a little bit about supportive adults and move into Q&A. So thank you everyone for sticking with us. So the first step after we get off the webinar today would be to think about your project. If you have a project in mind and think, does this project that I have in mind, does it meet the criteria of being eligible for the Dare to Dream America grant? Then thinking, am I able to commit to attending the required webinars and coaching calls like Jasmine and I have gone over today? That's 2 coaching calls and 4 webinars. Step 3 would be to make sure, if you haven't already, identify a supportive adult. This is going to be a person with experience in the field of youth work or young adult mental health who's going to support the project. And we'll talk a little bit more about the supportive adults and what their roles are here on the next couple slides. Thank you for joining us, Garrett. Garrett has to sign off. We're also going to share this webinar, so you can have a chance to listen to the rest of it if you need to. Thanks, Garrett. And then completing the application form would, of course, be the final step before you submit. So these can be printed and filled out by hand. You can also fill them out on the computer if you're somebody who likes to do that. You can submit them online, email, fax. You can even send them in the snail mail if that's what is most comfortable for you. Okay, so supportive adults. You've heard us throw this term around a lot, and this is a term that we use in Youth Move National in our work. So if you don't know what it is, I'll go ahead and just define it for you. So this is somebody who, like we said, they have experience working in mental health with young adults. They're going to be supportive of the project, and we also need to make sure that they're attending webinars. They need to be participating in coaching calls, and also helping with budgeting support and reporting. Jasmine, have I missed anything for supportive adults?
No, I would just say, I think, yep, it's coming up, but definitely assisting the Dare to Dream team, not just with writing the final report, but also just kind of being that support person as they are planning and implementing their projects. One thing that we have seen is that the teams that have really strong supportive adults kind of rooting them on and helping them stay on track are usually most successful. And so we want to make sure that that supportive adult is someone that has time to devote to really helping support and help, keep the flow going with the Dare to Dream team.
Yeah, and seeing the projects through to the end, I think, is important.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks, Jasmine. So they'll help with writing the final report. They'll help be a liaison between the group and the executive officer at the agency, if that's the situation. And also making sure that there's an alternative supportive adult if for some reason that person isn't able to complete the project, which sometimes has happened, that there's someone to take their place so that the group of young adults isn't just left high and dry halfway through the project. Okay, so we are here to help. Jasmine and I are happy to coach you on your application. We can answer your questions. Oh, I'm sorry. We're not able to coach you on, we can't look at the application and say, oh yeah, this looks perfect, but we can definitely answer questions about the application process and the requirements, things like that, evaluation and reporting. We're happy to answer questions that you have while you're filling out the application. And then you're also welcome to contact anytime Dare to Dream at youthmovnational.org. And Jasmine and I will be happy to get back any questions that you have throughout the process.
And just to let you all know, the reason why we cannot kind of tell you that your application looks great and will be selected is because all applications actually go through a review process, and there's a committee that looks at the Dare to Dream applications and make the determination. So, and they kind of tell us who should be selected. We are definitely here to like answer any questions as it relates to like if you have questions around a question on the application, if you're unclear about something, Maddie and I could definitely support you in that. Now this is the part of the webinar where we get to answer any questions that you may have. Is there anyone that would like to go off of mute or use the chat box if you have any questions?
This is Jen, and I have a question. When you say I commit to attending all the webinars and such, I would be one of the supportive adults on this team, but if I've got a team of youth that are writing the grant and leading the application process, and a team of supportive adults, I guess I can see the consistency in having the same people show up to all the meetings and webinars and stuff, but is it okay if somebody on the team has to substitute, if that makes sense? If somebody can't make a meeting, is that okay? Or do we need to commit to the same people on the meetings every time?
So to speak to what you already said, it's definitely a benefit of having a kind of consistency throughout the webinars, because we may at some point pick up where we left off in conversation type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And each webinar has a different focus. So one webinar is like introduction. Let's start planning. Let's start thinking about our projects more thoroughly. Let's make sure that we understand what descriptions or all that good stuff. Where are we going? What's our next steps? That type of thing. Where another webinar will be more of like, let's understand the reporting requirements. Let's look at the evaluation process. Let's look at the actual report. So it is helpful to have consistency. However, we do understand that life happens. So in the event that someone is not able to make the webinar, having a substitute that will be able to kind of gather those notes and bring them back to the team will be ideal.
Okay, awesome. And is there a schedule already on when those webinars take place?
They are not scheduled currently, but will be scheduled by the time applications are selected and grantees are notified.
Okay.
Thanks, Jen. That was great questions. Are there any other questions?
I have another one.
Go ahead.
So if we decided to go for it and apply for the $3,000 grant, if for some reason, we don't make the cut for that one, are we automatically considered for the smaller grant, or is that do we have to apply to each of them separately?
You will automatically be considered for the smaller grant if you were to apply for the $3,000 grant. That won't mean that you'll automatically receive the $1,000 grant either, right? But
Right.
you will definitely automatically be considered.
Okay, fantastic.
No problem.
Great questions, Jen.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we do have some frequently asked questions. And one is, do I have to apply with a group or a team? Well, the answer to that is no, it's not required. However, we do notice that these projects involve a lot of steps, especially when it comes to like planning, implementing, creating partnerships, all of that great stuff. So at least a small team of other youth and a supportive adult will be highly recommended. The next question is, someone else from my chapter is applying. Can we both win the award? That answer is no. A chapter or a chapter member can only win one award per round. And last year's winners cannot be eligible to win an award this year. So if you were awarded a Dare to Dream grant last year, or your chapter or group was awarded a Dare to Dream grant last year, you will not be eligible for this round of Dare to Dream grants. And the third question, when will awards be announced? So awards will be announced somewhere between the 3rd and 4th week of January. And awardees should plan on receiving their first disbursement at the beginning or towards the middle of February. All
Does that
right.
have any questions for anybody else?
Okay, so some things to remember is applications are due November 1st. Madeline and myself are definitely available. If you have questions, if you don't understand something on the application, please reach out to us. We are here to help. If the application is not completed by a young adult, you will not be considered. So please make sure that you're engaging young people from the beginning of this process to the end of this process to make sure that it is youth-led. And be responsive to emails. We will reach out. We will check on you, make sure everything's okay. You all are on track. If you need anything, need any resources, definitely let us know. And if email is not a great form of contact for you all, please let us know and we could definitely call or text or whatever it is that we need to do to stay in contact with you all. The last thing that we wanted to kind of throw out there is that we know that planning events and activities, especially youth-led events and activities, may require some additional tools in the toolbox. And so we have Ideas at the Institute, which is our new home for online training and resources. And we wanted to invite you all to that. All you would need to do is go to theinstitute.myabsorb.com. And if you check out the Youth Leadership Learning Community, there is a whole host of different resources that may support you in planning your project and thinking about things like timelines and who's going to do what, logic modeling, or anything like that. There's definitely a host of resources that are there to help you all. So don't forget to check out the institute.myabsorb.com and check out the Youth Leadership Learning Community. Hi, Robin. I see you have a question. I'm going to give you a second. I know you're checking into the chat box. While we're waiting on Robin's question, definitely check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Youth Move. Facebook is Youth Move National. Instagram and Twitter is both at Youth Move. And for more information on Dare to Dream, checking out some of our grants from last year, all of that information is listed on our website, youthmovenational.org. Type in Dare to Dream or search Dare to Dream in the search box, and it will pull up information on our past projects, what each of the grantees did, and oh, this is a good question. What each of the grantees did, and you know, give you ideas on maybe some possible projects that may fit your community. Robin's question is, I believe Youth Move Michigan was awarded the grant last year. Is Youth Move Detroit eligible for the grant this year? The answer to that is yes. Youth Move Detroit, because Youth Move Michigan was awarded last year. That was the collective of all of the Youth Move chapters within Michigan, and was not individual. So now the individual local chapter can apply. No problem. Thank you, Robin. Are there any additional questions? We do have a couple of more minutes if you all have any questions and want to go off mute or would like to drop it into the chat box. Okay, hearing none, I definitely appreciate you all spending your evening with us to go through the Dare to Dream application. Remember, if you all have any questions or need any technical assistance, please reach out to us. Again, we can't tell you that your application will be selected, but we could definitely answer any questions that you may have on the questions on the application. And hope to hear from you all soon. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Hey, thank you both. We appreciate you.
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.